Hello and welcome to Never on the Backfoot. A very good morning to you. In today's weekly review live show, we will be discussing the blockbuster matches that have happened so far in the ICC Men's ODI World Cup 2023 with our very distinguished panel here. Let me first introduce you the panel. We have Bharat, a remarkable cricket analyst and cricket enthusiast who is the founder of Cow Corner. Don't forget to check out his page on Instagram. Next, we have Shop the Porno, my classmate, an incredibly talented musician and an ardent cricket fan who has been an absolute supporter of Never on the Back Foot ever since I've known him. And we also have the ever smiling and the sweetest person ever, Surya, who is not just a fine tuned cricket analyst and fan, but also a journalist at Sportskeeda, joining us today. A warm welcome to all our panelists and thank you to all the viewers as well who have joined us. Please do share your thoughts, comments, insights, questions, and anything, and we'll be happy to address them through our session as well. Now, without further ado, let's get started with our discussion. So, match one, right? England versus New Zealand. Now, this is your opening game of the World Cup. Of course, there was a lot of hype considering these are your finalists of the last edition squaring off against each other. So, let's kickstart our discussion with Surya. What were your thoughts, going in this match, and what were you expecting?
I think the buzz and anticipation around England versus New Zealand was obviously sky high because of what happened on that day in 2019. And I definitely didn't expect it to transpire the way it did. But, not because I didn't think New Zealand weren't good enough to beat England, but the fact that they actually fielded what I felt was a lopsided combination. They were crippled in terms of their specialist bowling options, and to still come out there and dominate England the way they did, and it was unbelievable. And obviously it was a very one-sided affair to kickstart the tournament. But if there ever was a warning shot that had to be fired to the rest of the competition, that New Zealand are once again not just here to make up the numbers, but they actually mean business. They couldn't have asked for a better show than that, and without Kane Williamson too, it was quite a show. And I certainly expected England to start as the favourites and put in a much better display. Even if New Zealand were to win, I didn't expect that they would have it that easy. But I guess that's what the sport tends to throw up at times. A lot of uncertainties, a lot of glorious uncertainties, and it certainly was a glorious one for New Zealand in particular.
Absolutely. And now, when we look at England too, right, they didn't have the best of the starts to the match. Now, their batting did not fire as per expectations. And I think one of the biggest observation was them losing wickets in clumps. That kind of did not help their cause. So, Shopta, what did you make of it? And was that like a big turning point for them?
Yeah, firstly, thanks for the lovely introduction, Neha. I'm quite honored. And yeah, definitely. They opened the innings in such a way, like with Johnny Bairstow and David Malan. They were like batting in such a way that the opponents were feeling the pressure. Like right in the first over, if you remember, in the last ball, Bairstow hit Bolt for a six. And mind you, that Bolt is such a player. I mean, he knows the Indian pitches quite well, and he actually takes wickets in power play. He's known for that. And hitting him for a six, like I thought personally that yeah, England has arrived totally in the ICC events as they do. But again, I think the way David Malan was playing his shots, and I mean, there was a good combination of the right hand and left hand, of course, and the approach of Baz ball. Okay, it was the intent they were showing. It was quite great, but again, the inclusion of Jason Roy. He holds that kind of experience in his game, and definitely that adds on to the England team. So I think that they could have been a bit better. And again, the way Joe Root came in after the dismissal of David Malan, the shot he played, that scoop shot, which went for six, it was good. Everything was seeming well, even after the blistering knock of 77 runs. And right after his dismissal, the wickets, they just went on for quick succession. And also, when we say of batting, the captain Josh Butler, his position matters in this team. Like in which position he's coming in for the team. Okay, so I feel that since they are following that intent. or they're trying to maintain the run rate, the quick succession of run rate over there. So he could have been he could have come top the order. And definitely Stokes, he couldn't play the opening match. I do feel bad for that thing. So yeah, that's my opinion and take on how England's batting lineup like battered over there. So yeah.
Fair enough. And even when you look at England having this tough start, right? You had Joe Root, who was that shining light with that splendid 77, till he was undone by Glenn Phillips, right? And later we had Joss Butler coming in with that 43, which really helped England as well. So, how would you assess those batting performances, Bharat?
Yeah, firstly, thanks to the shout out to my page. Yeah, I think Joe Root was the one who held the innings for England, right? I think he rotated the strike really well and also hit boundaries in regular intervals, which helped in maintaining, the run rate really good. Um, I think he got out to Phillips, obviously, was a part timer, and I think the time that he got out was not ideal because I guess that was the 42nd over. Had he stayed a bit longer, I guess England would have posted a total of over 320 or maybe more than that. And I think Josh, talking about him, I really like the point Shapto made because I think Butler up the order actually would intimidate the opposition because he's that kind of a player who creates fear in the minds of the opposition. So I think yes, but I really like the way he played for his 43. But again, just like Root, he got out playing a fall shot and also at the wrong time. So these were few of the mistakes that resulted England in being bundled down. I would say, considering how well the Kiwis batted, I think they should have played more responsibly and posted a total over 300. Is what I felt.
Right, and that would have actually ensured that New Zealand would have a very difficult run chase. But
Exactly.
now, when you look at New Zealand's bowling as well, you had Matt Henry bowling incredibly well, right? Scalping 3 wickets. You had Mitch Santner and the part-time offie Phillips with those 2 wickets as well. Rachin Ravindra and Trent Bolt took 1 wicket. So, how would you assess that bowling performance, Surya?
Again, as I said at the start of the show, I think New Zealand certainly put out a lopsided combination out there, partly because they were just reduced to 12 options, with Lockie Ferguson picking up a niggle, Tim Southey not being there as well. And they only had one other bowler on the bench who was Ish Sodhi, and I feel he should have played. Yes, New Zealand dominated England in that match, and you can argue that now all's well that ends well, but I still believe that Ish Sodhi should have played that match in place of a specialist batter. You have Mitchell Santner coming in at 9. That's the kind of batting depth that New Zealand went with. And on top of that, out of their 3 specialist bowling options, 2 of them would have been even more effective under lights. If you look at Trent Bolt and Matt Henry, they were outstanding, but at the same time, I think they would have probably been more effective under lights. And New Zealand elected to field first. Again, it turned out to be the right decision in hindsight, but you can argue that you can make a fair argument that New Zealand overachieved with the bowling combination they had because Jimmy Neesham's not a 10 over bowler. Rachin Ravindra is not yet a 10 over bowler. They are batting all rounders. And Glenn Phillips as well. He's someone who's developed his bowling over time. And I think he just came totally out of syllabus, so to say, to get those 2 big wickets at the perfect time. But a lot of credit will also have to be given to the way Tom Latham marshaled his resources. One thing he did really well was go for the kill. He didn't hold his key bowlers for the back end because he knew that somewhere around if Joss Butler bats that deep, England were going to get 330 at least. And he knew that wickets were the only way, no matter how deep England bat. And in fact, England's depth allows them to express themselves a lot earlier than some of the other teams, like say India, who don't necessarily bat that deep. So I think what Tom Latham did in terms of rotating his bowlers around, ensuring that he used his frontline options as early as he possibly could to keep chipping away, that meant that New Zealand didn't have a huge score to chase as such. And in fact, if not for that last wicket partnership between Mark Wood and Adil Rashid, the target might have just been in the 250s. So, I think Latham has to be given a lot of credit for the way he went about using his bowlers, and of course the bowlers too. New Zealand couldn't afford any of their frontline bowlers, having a bad day. Bolt and Henry was superb, especially Matt Henry, and I thought Mitchell Santner was just magnificent. I mean, 2 for 37 of 10 overs against that England side. He doesn't come across as a bowler who really intimidates you, but he's such a difficult bowler to negate. You know, the way he varies his pace, his length, his control. Easily the best left-arm spinner in the world right now in white ball cricket, and I think his performance went a long way. So definitely an overachievement from New Zealand with that bowling combination. But again, with their limitations, they did a fabulous job. So props to them for that.
Especially in the absence of their full-time skipper Kane Williamson, you had Tom Latham coming in, and he's such a shrewd captain, really underrated. He really marshaled the troops well, as you rightly pointed out. And when you look at New Zealand's batting as well, it was like they were batting on a whole different surface. At no point they looked under pressure, except like Will Young's golden duck, which gave momentary happiness to that England setup. We had Devon Conway and Rachin Ravindra steal the show, right? I mean, what a partnership. And I think that pretty much marked the end of any comeback for England as well. So, Shopto, how would you assess that partnership? And were you just glued on to the screen watching them go at it?
Yeah, sure. I'll just share my experience. I was doing my assignment during that time and just looked at Crickbuzz for the scores. I was refreshing the whole thing, and all of a sudden I saw that Rachin Ravindra scores are 50. Now I remember that when he came, when there was this India versus New Zealand tour, and he made his debut against India. There was a talk that yeah, this is the kind of player New Zealand was looking for. I mean, him and Ijaz Patel, who came to India, and they actually left their mark during that time. And recently also, if you look at Rachin Ravindra's performance against Bangladesh, it was quite good. I mean, like quite decent. But I never expected like someone like Rachin Ravindra at the very first place to come and hit all the corners of the ground. If you just see the way him and Devon Conway, both of them were rotating the strikes, it was like brilliant. And I definitely think that New Zealand didn't miss the likes of Kane Williamson at that point, because it was a range hitting what they were doing. The shots, the lofted shots, what Rachin Ravindra was providing, and the shots which were played down the ground by Devon Conway as well. Like he has been the part of the CSK contingency for a long time right now. I mean, for the last 2 years, and he definitely knows the Indian pitches quite well as of now. So, and we have seen that New Zealand is such a team that when it comes to the ICC events, they will always backfire. And the batting, okay, it was just marvelous, and it was just like it was feeling that after Sam Curran dismissed Will Young for that golden duck, there were no likes of I mean the bowlers to make a comeback. There was Chris Wokes, who is, I mean, like brilliant with the new ball, and also I think that England did miss the likes of Reece Topley in that place. So that's a definite thing what England did miss in their bowling. So yeah, and the target wasn't also like that quite big, which was seeming like it would go over 300. So like Rachin Ravindra and Devon Conway, they have like made a total mark in the New Zealand team right now, that if they open, then they are going to pose a serious threat for the opponents. So yeah.
And as Chinmay comment here also says, that Devon Conway and Ravindra's batting was that great that he watched it more than the entire English batting. It really puts in context, right, how impressive the duo were. And now, before we move on to our next match under focus, a thrashing at the hands of the Kiwis, right, was definitely tough for the English team. So on the bowling front as well, there were certain concerns, like Shopto brought in the point of how Reece Topley was missing. But can they innovate with something different, Bharat, next match?
Well, I think Shopta was right in talking about Reece Topley. But still, this particular match, they had a good variety in their bowling attack, because you have Chris Wokes, who's a genuine swing bowler. Sam Curran is a swing bowler and can bowl those cutters. You have Mark Wood, the fiery, dangerous Mark Wood, who's going to intimidate the opposition batters, right? And you have Leggy in Adil Rashid, the offie, a bit of both in Liam Livingston, and even Root can bowl, right? He's a very good a decent offie. So I think they did have all the resources that was needed, to defend the total of 280. But then I think the genuine strike bowlers in this side are going to be Mark Wood and Adil Rashid. The others, I'm not trying to say that they're defensive bowlers, but I don't think they have the ability to, just blow down the opposition. So I think that was where Adil Rashid and Mark Wood had to step up. Ravindra did a great job in hitting Mark Wood in different parts of the ground, because I think the first over he hit 17 runs of Mark Wood, right? So I think that was where the Kiwis, took the attacking option, and I think that must have been the plan, I guess, because I think they decimated England in every aspect.
I
That's
think,
actually true. Yeah, go on, Surya.
yeah, Bharat is absolutely spot on about Mark Wood and Adil Rashid. If they don't strike, I think England will struggle with the ball because going by what happened against New Zealand, they just looked like a bunch of headless chickens. They had absolutely no clue what to do. They were bowling all over the place. And Adil Rashid, I think, is going to be the key because you want that wicket-taking wrist spinner in the middle, who can use his variations, can break games open. He's probably descended from his peak, but we've seen in recent times as well. You take the T20 World Cup last year, he clicked at the right time, and that's what they'll be expecting of him. But yeah, if these two bowlers struggle, I'd like to write this off as an off day, as somebody commented as well, that they had as Chinmay commented, they had a good lineup. It wasn't their day. I'd still want to see Reece Topley in this playing 11. I think he brings that variety. The next game is in Dharamshala too, so his high release point, the bounce that he can extract apart from the swing, I think will just lend more wings to this lineup. But yes, at this point, I'll write it off as an aberration. But Bharat was absolutely right. Rashid and Wood have to strike for England.
And considering this is a long World Cup, England would definitely be itching to make that comeback. And they are one side you can definitely not write off, considering that last World Cup as well. And moving on to our next match, right? We have Pakistan versus Netherlands. Now, this is again another interesting match because we had a very confident Babar Azam, in the toss telling we are looking to make 300. So I was like, chalo, theek hai. Maybe man is very confident of the conditions. But what happened to that batting? Like they were losing wickets everywhere, and it just seemed like all over the place. So Surya, let's again, start with you. How would you, do a post-mortem of that batting performance?
It's pretty interesting because you look at Pakistan's batting lineup and you think that a lot of it hinges on that top three of Fakhar Zaman, Imam ul Haq, and Babar Azam. And the question mark is what happens when they don't click. And they got a good answer to it the way Mohammad Rizwan, who I think has developed a reputation for absorbing pressure really well, he stepped up once again. And I think South Shakil is a really good player. He's very skillful. Obviously, that left-handed variety helps, but he seems very skillful against spin in particular. Looks confident against pace too. Much like Rachin Ravindra with New Zealand. So, I think another very young, exciting young left-hander to watch out for in this World Cup. But yes, Fakhar Zaman unfortunately is just not able to buy a run. He is very important to this batting lineup because Pakistan fortunately batted first that day. I know that they lost the toss, but I believe that Pakistan is better off batting first. Get the runs and then get your bowlers to operate under lights because funny things tend to happen when they chase. This is a much better team than some of the Pakistan batting lineups of yore. But I still feel that they're better off putting runs on the board, than coping with, the scoreboard pressure, the asking rate, especially if it's a 330 plus chase on a flat pitch. I don't think this Pakistan team gives you that kind of confidence that they can chase it down on a regular basis. But they need Fakhar Zaman to start firing soon. I mean, it's good that they backed him because he's the one point of difference player in that top three. Skill wise, you'd say Babar and Imam are definitely better players, but what Fakhar Zaman brings in terms of sheer intent and ability to run away with the game, Pakistan really need that because otherwise, yes, Shadab can hit spinners in the middle overs. Iftikhar Ahmed is very good against pace, but if Fakhar Zaman doesn't score, they could be in a lot of trouble going forward. So the way they'll see it is they look at it as a positive in the sense that the top three didn't click, and they still managed to get a win as good as that. And they had the middle order chip in with invaluable contributions, and they know Babar Azam and Imam ul Haq will come good at some stage. That's not far away. But if Fakar Zaman clicks and fires a warning shot to the rest of the competition, they will definitely rule that first game out as an aberration. The top three not performing, and that's when Pakistan would really start to look a lot more lethal than they are. They're a good side. They have a very good first 11, but that if a few players don't click, then from being a good side to being a dominant side, that's the difference. It's two or three players who hold that key, and I think that's where they'll have to try and bridge that gap as soon as possible.
Absolutely, and I think that's why this match really was an acid test because you had Saud Shakil, the player we've been talking about so much. Every discussion panel, you see him, being the point of reference. And you had, of course, Rizwan coming in later. Nawaz and Shadab also, sparked some hope of a fight back because any total that is less than 250 or so would not be competitive enough. But somehow they just couldn't still fight off the might of, the Dutch bowling. So, Shopta, what were your thoughts on that slight comeback that happened there and a competitive total, nevertheless?
I would like to begin where Surya ended. Like, of course, Fakar Zaman and Imamul Haq. Okay, so they need to fire. They have been a part. They have been the member of this team for a very long time right now, and of course, they have been parts of like several bilateral series, several events, and whatnot. So. I definitely feel that Babar was quite confident and the lineup was great. Like the way Pakistan has been doing since last 5 or 6 years. It has been great, and the likes of their bowling and the batting and the balance they have found out is like quite something which should be like spoken of. But again, if you see that the wickets they lost, there was a pattern. They just lost wickets in a quick succession. Okay, and the bowling partnership from Netherlands, like Ackerman and Lead, and also Meekeren coming in. So they were just bowling in a way which, like Pakistan, the I mean, they had experience on one side, and they had like the no. I mean, I won't say that they're like quite novice, but yeah, of course, Netherlands is a team. Like you go out on the field any day, you'll say that yeah, Pakistan is not going to get bundled out by Netherlands. So this is a thought what I was having in my mind as well. And after that, when Rizwan came in, he just anchored the innings. There should have been someone who could like anchor the innings. And yeah, after that, the late fire from Saud Shakil and also from Mohammad Nawaz, I think he scored a quick 39 or 40 runs, which actually like made Pakistan go into a competitive total. So also Shadab Khan and the tail enders, I think they did a good job than the openers in the beginning. And also you'll have to look into one thing that Babar Azam, the way he was dismissed, I think the patterns of dismissal, all right, it was quite similar, and it was quite going in a pattern in which Pakistan could have, yeah, decoded the way out, but yeah, they weren't able to do so. So yeah, fortunately they had Mohammad Rizwan to anchor the innings and Saud Shakil. So I definitely feel that they could have built more on that, and 280 on my opinion in my opinion, it was not a competitive total because if you see, Netherlands also had the likes of Max O'Dowd, who is an attacking player. Okay, like if you see him in the T20s, he'll attack. He's a good hitter of the ball, definitely. But yeah, he also didn't fire. But if like the top order from the Netherlands had fired well, just or if someone was there to anchor their innings, I think it would have been a hard luck for Pakistan that day. So yeah, that's it.
And even the way Netherlands was bowling, right? Many likened this contest to Netherlands bowling versus the Pakistan batting, right? Because the Netherlands attack bolstered by Bas B. Lead, then you had Colin Ackerman, you had Logan Van Beek, Aryan Dutt, and Paul Van Meekeren. Sorry for the pronunciation, guys. I mean, they quite literally, broke the back of that Pakistani batting, giving you flashes of that Netherlands team we saw in the ICC qualifier, right, earlier this year. So, Bharat, what were your thoughts on that bowling performance? Because this is a formidable Pakistan team, mind you, but still, it was quite impressive to see them go at it, right?
Yeah, to be honest, they started off brilliantly. Really like the way Aryan did bowled because he was getting good bit of turn and bounce, and I expected him to get a wicket in this first spell. Unfortunately, he didn't. But reducing, formidable team, just like how you said, a formidable team like Pakistan to 38 for three. I mean, that's a commendable job. So I think great start, but I think later on they weren't bowling consistent lines and lengths. They were bowling those odd loose deliveries here and there, which I thought gave opportunity to a champion player like Rizwan, and even South Shakil was emerging, an opportunity to get off the shackles and just uh, get to a blast, because you knew that Rizwan is going to attack. He's not a typical anchor per se, because generally you expect your number four, to bat say at a strike rate of 75, 80 for initial 30 deliveries and then look to attack. But he looked to attack from the word go. So that was the thinking that he was in. um, I think Edwards as a captain, did not operate that well. Just like how we talked about how good Tom Latham was in the first game, I think Scott Edwards had to bring in one of his strike bowlers, maybe Van Beekeren or Van Beek, so that you could dismiss one of Saud Shakil or Mohammad Rizwan. But strangely, he brought in Vikramjeet Singh to roll his arm over, and I think that gave I think that particular over Shout Shakil dominated him like champion player. So I think those were the small things which actually helped Pakistan to stitch an important partnership. And then I think perhaps or had Scott Edwards used one of his strike bowlers. I think Vander Merwe, he was underused maybe. He's an experienced bowler, all of us know. He was just used for 6 overs. I think if had he used all his resources in a better way, maybe who knows, Pakistan could have been bundled down to 250 or under that. So I think those were the mistakes. But I mean, being a nation of that sort, I think they're emerging. They're going to get there. But to win a game or two in this tournament, which I think will be a good achievement for Netherlands, they need to tick all these boxes.
Fair enough. And even when you look at Netherlands, right, they don't play against your higher ranked teams that often. So I think it's games like these that would really give them that learning curve and a lot to take away as well. And considering how losing to a minnow is like considered such a big thing, I think somewhere it was Pakistan's bowling that saved face. Now you had Harris Rauf and Hassan Ali with everyone else also getting a wicket each because they really bowled beautifully to defend that total. And at no point they looked like they were going to give up, right? So Surya, how would you assess that bowling performance? Did it give you sparks of that Pakistan team which will not give up at any cost?
Absolutely, because Haris Rauf's spell in particular, there was one point I think he was in the middle of a sixth or seventh over when a graphic popped up and his average speeds were in the 145 range and his slowest delivery was 140 kilometers an hour. He has a very good slower one, mind you, but when he doesn't need it, he just sticks to his stock delivery and yeah, he can be quite a menace to face. So Haris Rauf taking wickets in these middle overs is very crucial for Pakistan also because Shadab Khan just hasn't been the same bowler for a while now. He showed better signs in the first game against Netherlands, but if you saw him in the Asia Cup, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to deduce that he's really been struggling for his rhythm. And the one they have on the bench, Usama Mir, he also struggled against New Zealand in the warm-up game. So Pakistan, and on top of that, Pakistan don't have Naseem Shah. So they need all these components to come together. Otherwise, you're just stacking all your eggs in one basket, which is Shaheen Shah Afridi breaking the game open in the power play. The day that doesn't happen, that's the day they could be in trouble. But that's where I think this performance will give them a lot of confidence, especially the way Hassan Ali bowled, because they've really taken a punt. I mean, okay, I don't think taking a punt would be the right term, but they're banked on his experience and the fact that he's been there and done that. When they could have taken a punt on some of the other younger, lesser known fast bowlers, who take to international cricket like a duck to water. They don't waste too much time. You've seen that from Pakistan, be it Mohammad Amir, Hassan Ali himself, and lately even Shaheen, they just make a splash instantly in international cricket. So Pakistan haven't taken that punt, but they've gone back to the tried and tested option in Hassan Ali. And I think the way he performed in that first game would give them a lot of confidence, because he's not necessarily as quick as Naseem Shah or as deceptive in terms of the way he swings the ball away very late, especially off the surface. But if he's there and he can still do that job for you and complement Shaheen at one end and Haris Rauf at the other, it's going to just round off that attack a lot better, especially because the assignments are only going to get tougher for Pakistan. They're going to be playing Sri Lanka next. Of course, there's that big game against India. Then they play Australia. The next three games are very challenging. I know Sri Lanka had a very bad day yesterday with the ball, but it's really not going to get any easier for Pakistan. So they need all of these components to come together. And yes, they bowled really well the other day. They just kept the fast bowlers in particular stuck to a simple plan. And once they got that opening, when they got past Vikramjit Singh, what they did well was to take two or three more wickets almost immediately to shut Netherlands out of the game. So even though they had Logan Van Beek, they still had Pastelida going as well as he was. It just became a far cry beyond a point, and the result was inevitable. So definitely, I think on the back of what was a mixed batting performance, the way they bowled would give them a lot of confidence.
Absolutely, because Pakistan's bowling was like the biggest talking point from this game. Now, when you look at the Dutch batting as well, except Vikramjit Singh, was holding fort at one and kind of, almost anchoring that run chase. And besides, Bas D Lede, who really showed like a lot of intent. We didn't see a lot of other batters come to the fore, and again, losing wickets in clusters was like a big talking point. So, Shopta, what are your thoughts on that batting performance, and still a lot to take away for the Dutch team?
Yeah, definitely. So, firstly, Vikramjit Singh. When we look at his batting, he was again, like as I mentioned, he's that kind of a batter who is I mean, he's totally a technical batter. Okay, he focuses more on his techniques, and he'll just hit on the like on side of the ground more rather than on the other parts. So there was this pattern again in his game, which the Netherlands team actually banked on, and definitely Bas de Leede, the way he batted. I had more expectations from Ackerman and Edwards as being the captain. He had that responsibility, and he also has that capability of doing some of the fireworks out of the ground and going for that. So again, as I already spoke about, like I had high hopes from O'Dowd as well. We have seen his games, and we have seen in the T20 leagues as well how he plays, what intent can he show, and the other domestic leagues, his performance. I mean, I think that we couldn't. I mean, we could have expected more. And personally, what I thought was 280 wasn't a kind of a score what they couldn't have chased. Having players like Ackerman, having players like O'Dowd, and I actually like the intent what O'Dowd shows out on the field, because he's a clean hitter of the ball, and he's someone. If you look at the opening pair, yeah, as Chinmay already mentioned, that he at least had to stay over there for 6 to 7 overs. He kind of plays the role of a pinch hitter in their batting lineup. So I think if he would have stayed over there, the results could have been different. And again, a key takeaway from this match would be of course, the bowling did quite well. The bowling department actually did very well, despite of having such an experienced lineup like Pakistan against them. So yeah, kudos to them for that. And definitely, what I think that Colin Ackerman and Edwards, I think if they could have showed more intent in their game, this could have been a win-win situation for Netherlands, or they could have been they would have pushed Pakistan a bit more. So yeah, that would be my take on this.
And now we have quite an interesting question on our screen as well. Cricket Darshan asks us, do you think that Soj Shakil has cemented his spot considering the outing he's had, or will Salman Agha come in? Because the Cricket Darshan believes that Saud is a better player suited to list A cricket, and he has a better bowling ability, just marginally better than Salman Agha. So, Bharat, what are your 2 cents on this comment, and who do you think is going to make the cut?
I think Saud Shakil, is here to stay. Not just in the World Cup. I think he's the one for the future. But is the comparison, or is it the competition between Saud Shakil and Salman Agha is the question. Because people have actually, voiced out their opinion, like Saud Shakil can open the innings. He is someone, who's been seen as the opening option for them. You still have Abdullah Shafiq in the squad, but still, for some reason they think Saud Shakil is, has a good potential to open the innings. So I think I would also have that thinking. But comparing Saud Shakil with Salman Agha, I think Saud Shakil will get a go. And as Cricket Darshan rightly said, I think he's a better bowler. Salman Agha, I think, his off spin. We did see him bowl, right, and even in the warm up games, I think he didn't look that well, to be honest. I think so. South Shakil at number 5 will be the route Pakistan will be taking, or else if he's going to open the innings, maybe who knows? I think Salman Agha can play at number 5 with Iftikhar at 6. But long story short, South Shakil is here to stay.
Right, that does make sense. And now, taking our focus to match three, Afghanistan versus Bangladesh, we've seen them square off against each other in innumerable bilateral series in the Asia Cup. So there were some expectations coming into the match, but it fell flat. It was quite a lukewarm affair, right? We saw Afghanistan get skittled for 156. It was a batting failure if you look at it retrospectively. And except Rahmanullah Gurbaz, the KKR opener who has really impressed us in recent times. So to again, start this discussion, Surya, what did you think not work well for Afghanistan?
That was a very decent pitch that was laid out. In fact, a very good pitch in Dharamshala, because there was, you traditionally expected to favor the batters because of the kind of bounce that the surface tends to offer. So it comes onto the bat pretty well, and I think it had something in it for the fast bowlers too because of that extra bounce. But yes, I think this is a very very valid point that Cricket that Darshan makes, because the outfield was. I won't say the pitch. I think the pitch was really good. The outfield was. It was a shocker. Michael Atherton and Nasser Hussain were constantly on about it as well. On air, it was quite it is quite dangerous, to be honest, borderline dangerous. There was an instance in the second innings when I think it was Mujibur Rahman who put in a dive in the outfield, and there was by trying to stop the ball from reaching the ropes, and there was a huge chunk of grass that just came out. So it certainly doesn't look safe from the point of view of the players, from the players actually putting their body on the line. So you don't want any injuries because of that. So yes, that's something that has to be looked into. But I thought the surface was really good. Afghanistan started well too. They looked very positive and confident. Gurbaz started well. Ibrahim Zadran looked confident. I think he's a very good player. Again, cut out for the longer formats. And even Rahmat Shah looked pretty confident. But somehow after the drinks break, it just went kaput. It was the shot selection really left a lot to be desired. There were a lot of deliveries that were played onto the stumps. Rahmat Shah attempted a slog sweep, almost a no-look slog sweep, which was very ill-timed and ill-executed. And Hashmatullah Shahidi just, unfortunately, he just sapped all momentum out of the innings, because I've always felt that he seems a bit of a misfit in this middle order, because he tends to take a lot of time to get going. The Asia Cup showed more promising signs, but again, going by yesterday's innings, that seemed like an outlier. Now, Afghanistan started so well. I think they got over 50 in their first 10 overs, if I'm not wrong. They were 96 for 2 and 20, but then ended up 126 after 30. Just 30 runs between overs 21 and 30. That's just not on. And they started losing too many wickets. And once Gurbaz got out, it was just, the cookie just crumbled completely. Nobody could get going thereafter. So everything went wrong apart from Gurbaz and I think Ibrahim Zadran. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely a performance that is not reflective of either the pitch or, for that matter, what Afghanistan is capable of. But they need the middle order to step up a lot more. Starting from Shahidi, he needs to find a way to keep the scoreboard ticking, minimize your dot deliveries. I think that's a very understated skill in ODIs. It need not be crash bang wallop every single time, but minimize your dot deliveries. That automatically just gets you in, and you can always pick up pace and crank it up into sixth gear. It was a pitch where they needed at least 270, 280, if not more. And Bangladesh could just take their own sweet time and get these runs eventually. So a very disappointing performance, coupled with some outstanding bowling as well from Bangladesh, it must be said.
Right, and that's where I think Bangladesh's bowling really comes into picture, right? Because Shakib Al Hassan and Mehdi Hassan really stood out with their 3 wickets. You had Shoriful Islam and Taskin Ahmed also, coming to the part and really delivering when the team needed it the most. It was a very comprehensive bowling performance, nonetheless. So, Shopta, what were your 2 cents of that bowling performance?
Yeah, as Surya rightly mentioned, that it was a pitch, I mean, kind of a pitch where 270, 280 could have been a par score over there. So, rightly, that actually affected, and what Bangladesh had in their mind is like they had the experience of Mustafizur Rahman, who opens their bowling quite well with the new ball, definitely. And also, we have Shoriful Islam, Taskin Ahmed. And mind you, Tuscan bowls. I mean, he actually like bowls in a way where his top deliveries and yorkers, and he has that kind of variation in his bowling where he has that ability to bundle out any batsman right over there in the ground. So as again Surya mentioned that they somewhere they were for 83 for 2 or 85 for 2, and within the next 70 runs or 80 runs they just, I mean, like played out over there. So that is one thing what where I mean, batsmen like Zadran or Azmatullah, they could have like stayed over there and played that anchor role, but none other than I mean, it didn't like quite play out for them. Also Mehdi is a superhero for Bangladesh at this point. So, I mean, if you look at his performance from the last matches as well, even during the Asia Cup, so his performance has been quite up the level, and he's contributing in bowling, he's contributing in his batting, and also Shakib Al Hassan. He's that kind of a player. He's that kind of a captain who actually like infuse this that sense of like win-win situation within the within the team. Definitely I did like this. So of course he actually had this point in his mind. I mean, even in the post-match conference where he was speaking to the reporters, he knew that even if they were in a situation of like 80 for 2, he had this confidence in his mind that we can just turn over the game in the next 100 or 80 runs. So yeah, I think that rather than Bangladesh's batting, the bowling lineup has a more, I mean, it has more potential to like pose a serious threat to anyone any day. Also, I think that the inclusion of Ibadat Hossain or like Rubel, bowlers like them could have like strengthened the bowling pack more. And also like Shoriful is that kind of a bowler who is like, I mean, I personally am vouching for to like perform more in the near future. So yeah, that's it. And I mean, I think that Bangladesh uh, could have like done more better. I mean, they could have done better in the power play rather than just. I mean, Rahmanullah Gurbaz was only the player who was firing up for the Afghanistan team out there. So yeah, I mean, they did a pretty decent job in their bowling unit. So yeah.
Right, and restricting the batting was really, I think, a thing that worked well for them. Now, even when you look at Bangladesh, right, it was not smooth sailing while they were batting because they lost their openers early on. But somewhere, I think it was that partnership between Mehdi Hassan and Shanto that really sealed the deal for them. Later, you had Shakib and Mushfiqur Rahim, the seasoned veterans chipping in as well, and crucial points on the board in spite of this hiccup, Bharat.
Bangladesh, to be honest, did not get to a great start. I think their opener got run out, and Liton Das, who was their ace batter, in my opinion, he was bowled to. So they were in a spot of bother to start off with. But really like the way Mehdi Hasan is operating with the bat. I'm quite impressed with him. And then they set an important partnership there, and I think in such low scoring games it's all about that one partnership. If you're able to somehow manage to get that partnership, I think the game is pretty much sealed. So I think good stuff from Bangladesh. As Sapto said, it was more about Bangladesh's bowling than batting. It was actually completely their day. And I know I'm going back to Afghanistan's batting, but I have a question. So is Najibullah batting slightly up the order, considering his hitting abilities? Because I think number five is not well suited for him. He's someone who's more better suited, at six or seven. So what do you guys think? And also the viewers, it's up to you. You can answer it too.
Yeah, I think with Najibullah, he has been struggling with his form in recent times, and that's been a big worry for Afghanistan. But I totally take what Bharat says in terms of what he can actually, do in terms of an impact. He can certainly leave that impact and accelerate this your score towards a bigger one, and that's one problem that Afghanistan have. There was a series against Pakistan recently, just preceding the Asia Cup, where I think Gurbaz got a big 100, and even in spite of that, they could only score 300 on the board, and eventually Pakistan chased it down, by one wicket. But then again, Pakistan managed to chase it down, and that's probably what Afghanistan are missing. And almost every time they need Gurbaz to not only get them off the start, but also carry on and make it count, and convert it into a big one, because they really don't have that kind of engine room in the middle order that can propel their score, even from, say, the ideal launch pad. So that's where I think Shahidi has struggled. Shahidi has been struggling in terms of just keeping that tempo going. Again, as Cricketer Darshan says, I think Rahmat Shah has upped his game in terms of his strike rate. But yes, the consistency has been a problem. That's true. I think that's where they've got this experience in the form of Rahmat Shah and Hashmatullah Shahidi. And you look at that middle order, there is a lot of experience. But the fact that they're just not clicking, or they're not giving what Afghanistan need on a regular basis, is what is really pulling them back. Mohammad Nabi also has a huge role to play. There's no doubt about it. I think it's quite remarkable how Nabi continues to push his limits, even though a couple of years ago you might have thought Nabi might have run his race at the international level, but he's still going strong. That game against Sri Lanka in the Asia Cup, where Afghanistan had to chase in about 37 overs or so. If not for Nabi, I don't think Afghanistan would have even got that close. So they've got the players, but there has to be a sense of intent and a sense of realizing when to actually step on the gas and flick that switch. Otherwise, you're just relying on two or three players to do your heavy lifting, and it might work on the odd day, but you're facing a lot of quality oppositions throughout this tournament. It won't take them too long to deduce this and pin you to the match. So there is a lot of work that they need to do. Najib, you can argue about Najib and his batting position, because I think with some players probably the entry point works a lot better. This is something I felt with Surya Kumar Yadav too in one day internationals. You give him that situation and you send him out after, say, the 30th over or the 35th over. You just concise it to almost a T20 like situation and he'd go big. With Najib, he can be a dangerous player and he can potentially do that too. But again, you don't want him to walk out at, say, 150 for 335 overs, where there's a lot of work to be done. He cannot do it single-handedly. It's going to take a superhuman effort to do it. And I mean, as talented as he might be, it's really not fair to ask one player to do it. So yeah, there are quite a few issues over here that Afghanistan need to look into.
Absolutely. And I hope that answers your question as well, Bharat, about this situation. And now, diverting our attention to the other match that happened yesterday, we had South Africa squaring off against Sri Lanka, right? Wow, what is that much, right? So early in the World Cup, you see South Africa put up this mammoth 428 on the board. Unbelievable batting performance. It's very rare, right? You see situations where all the batters just go all out. You had Quinton de Kock, Rassie van der Dussen, then you had Aiden Markram, scoring those massive hundreds, and a late onslaught even by David Miller and Marco Jansen. Really, I think helped them get to that total as well. So, Shapto, how how glued again were you to the screen, seeing this batting performance and amazing stuff, right?
Again, I had an assignment to do, and all I just did was like open Hotstar and watch the match, and I just like my eyes got stuck into it because when I saw that Temba Wavuma he got dismissed in the very early stage of the game, I've always did this thing in my mind that yeah, Rasi van der Dusse and Quinton de Kock, they will be the key players to watch out for South Africa. Okay. Yeah, as Chinmay rightly mentioned that yeah, they were a few runs short. So definitely, like let's say South Africa broke all the records yesterday. Okay, registering the highest World Cup score, and then Markram coming in late for them. I mean, not quite late for them, but yeah, coming in that spot and uh, I mean running at a rate of 190 plus. And also he made his record of the highest, I mean, the fastest century in the World Cup. So I mean ODI World Cup. So I mean, yeah, definitely that quite sums up that yeah, South Africa is here to make a mark, and they are playing this kind of a cricket where they have players who can play that anchor role, who can come up for them, and also there are players on the other end of the strike who can play a quick fire. Okay, so and yeah, of course, what Shabarish has mentioned over here, that Bavuma failing time and again. This is a concern for South Africa, definitely. Like if we look at his performances uh, within the last games as well, he has been a prey to that kind of a ball where he's going to play and he's getting out in the third stump or the fourth stump. In that place only, he's getting out time and again. So and also he's not playing freely. If you look at his back foot options, he's not using his back foot quite properly, and he's getting dismissed in a similar way over the last matches. If you look at his performance, but speaking about Van der Dusse, so he has been this kind of a player for South Africa who will come up for you, who is going to perform for you, be it like your bilateral series, be it the ODI World Cup and all. So yeah, their performances have been quite consistent, and also there was this concern in the minds of the fans that yeah, they could have like the inclusion of Faf du Plessis. Okay, all right. So if he was in this team, if I mean, of course, they could have. I mean, 428 was rightly a very less score, what Chinmay actually said. It would have been near around 450, definitely. And also and when David Miller and Marco Jansen, when they came into bat, okay, we know that how David Miller can be dangerous, and how he has this capability of making room and converting those shots right on the side which he is playing. So he has this capability to do so. And I also noticed a kind of a pattern in Markram's batting yesterday, that he also made rooms for the shot, and the shots which he was playing, where if you look at his batting or if you analyze his batting quite, I mean, deeply, so you'll get to know that he is over there to make a mark that I will play in this attacking mode only, and that actually quite helped him and helped his teammates as well. And three batters, top order batsmen coming in and registering hundreds. So yeah, definitely. I think that has been the key takeaway for South Africa yesterday. And also, I have this hope from, I mean, David Miller as well as Marco Jansen. Looking at Marco Jansen and his performances over the last T20 leagues, over there in IPL as well, he did actually quite well with the bat. So definitely, South Africa, I think this time they're the underdogs of the World Cup. And yeah, that's it. That's from my end. And yeah.
Of course, I mean, a morale boosting win like this, would definitely help them. But it also, wants you to look at the other side of how Sri Lanka's bowling was all over the place, right? It was quite concerning to see them go at this much, considering we've seen them have that good-ish Asia Cup and like their recent past as well. So, Bharat, how would you assess Sri Lanka's bowling? Was this a one-off thing, not much to get concerned about, or should we just look at it more seriously?
They're surely missing Deekshana, ain't they? Because he's their, ace bowler. I think that's the least you can say because he bowls in the power play. In the middle overs, he can pick you wickets, and also in the death, we've actually seen MS, making use of his bowling the death overs. So they're surely missing him. But they did have a decent attack. I wouldn't say deadly attack, obviously, because you had Rajita, who can swing the ball, but probably at 125, 130 clicks. Yeah, that's what's in my. I think they're missing the likes of Deekshana. Um, Madhushanka is actually very good prospect for them. Left arm seamer who bowls in at a very good pace. But then apart from them, you have Dunit Velalage, who's low on experience, great talent but low on experience. And then you have I can't really think of who the strike bowler is. You have Shanaka, who's a little more than a part timer, especially in this format. I think is bowling well, but little more than a part timer. Same applies with Dhananjaya De Silva as well. And Patirana, I think you need someone like MSD, to get the best out of him. I think that's where the prominence of a captain comes in. I think captain and leader, there's a small difference, right? So that's what is needed because he's a great talent who's clicking 150s, has a great bouncer, slingy action, who many don't have. But again, just like how Umran Malik is for us, he can go for 10 runs and over, and also be as deadly as picking say three quick wickets. You need to operate your bowlers well. I think Shanak, this was definitely not on cards. If you'd said like South Africa will be posting somewhere over 400, I definitely wouldn't have believed. Yeah, I think Chamira was one guy, and Hasaranga. Uh, they were also one team who's suffering due to a lot of injuries. Had Chamira been there, he would have been a very good power play bowler, and the world knows about Hasaranga. So I think they definitely need Deekshana to make a good mark in this tournament, and I really hope that he gets into the team soon.
Yeah, I mean, as you rightly said, Sri Lanka is definitely missing out a lot of key players because of injuries. And even, chasing this massive total of 420, it is not easy, right? But you still had the likes of Kusal Mendes, giving them some momentum with that handy 76. Charit Asalanka came to the party with that attacking 79. But again, a trend that we commonly observe when you're chasing such big totals is the pressure to score runs. You're losing so many wickets. Dasan Shanaka came to the party, with that 68. He's been under fire, in the recent past because they feel he's just the captain and he's not contributing a lot to the team, which I think is unfair. But then he's still, trying his best. So how would you assess this run chase, Surya? Because with such a steep chase, right, they did not get skittled out for a cute 150 and just, throw the towels in. They got out for 326, which I think is commendable. And I think even Kushagi's question here of, the contribution that the pitch made in both the teams' ka batting performance comes into perspective. So, what are your thoughts, Surya?
I'll answer that question first about the pitch. Definitely, I think one which isn't your typical Delhi track. One thing we have to understand is this is a World Cup in October, November, which is the start of the domestic season generally in India, or it's certainly not the Indian summer. And in the IPL, you will get a lot. You get wickets that are a little more typical of those respective venues like Delhi, or you take a Chennai, for example. But over here, it's not a surprise, not a complete surprise to see a good batting pitch. What happened yesterday was you had a good pitch and you have short boundaries, and you couple that with Sri Lanka's bowling, as you said, Neha, being all over the place. They were, and they ran into I think, the most dangerous middle order engine room in this tournament. So it was basically a recipe for disaster for them, and that's exactly what transpired. But I think definitely one thing you always associate with Sri Lanka is their fighting spirit and the fact that they never give up. They don't throw the towel in. They give it absolutely everything. But and Kusal Mendes just played an outstanding innings. I think 8 sixes in the power play, if I'm not wrong, yesterday. That was quite ridiculous. And suddenly you felt there was a game on hand. The thing is, though, in 50 over cricket, you just have a lot more time than you think there is. In T20 cricket, you're clutching at straws too early when you have an innings like this hit you like a truck. But in this case, I think South Africa would have known that they're just 2 wickets away, and they're back on top again, because the guys coming in will then have a lot of work to do, and that's exactly what transpired. And they just had far too many runs on the board. I think Kusal Mendes, again, that partnership with Kusal Pereira, it reminded me of this one partnership between Sanath Jayasuriya and Ramesh Kaluwitharana many years ago, where I think Sri Lanka put on an opening stand of 70 and Kaluwitharana was dismissed for a duck. So Jayasuriya was dominating. In this case, Kusal Pereira is known to be a Jayasuriya 2.0, so to say, in terms of the shots that he plays, bearing an uncanny resemblance. But he took on that role of staying at the non-strikers and then just having the best seat in the house. And funnily enough, even he nearly got dismissed for a duck. Temba Babuma misjudged that catch. Otherwise, we might have seen that partnership being replicated. But it was an unbelievable innings from Kusal Mendes. I like some of the shots Charit Asalanka also played against pace. A couple of risky short arm jabs. We know that his game against spin is right up there, but I thought he played the paces pretty well. And it definitely was a batting performance that Sri Lanka will be happy with, because I still feel that their batting is a little circumspect, even though they bat fairly deep. The fact that Dasun Shanaka hadn't been scoring heading into this tournament, him getting that knock yesterday, that over against Gerald Coetzee, if I'm not wrong, he absolutely tore into him and got to his 50. So, these are big positives. They still have a match winner in Kusal Pereira, who should come good at some stage. Sadira Samaravikram has been scoring really well, and they have Pathum Nisanka, who's a solid player up top. So they still had a lot of positives to take out of. But again, if you score 326 and still lose by 102 runs, it pretty much sums up, why it wasn't their day. But yes, they got a lot of work to do. There's no questioning that.
Exactly. And so far in our discussion, we have spoken about all these four matches, and they've brought in so many talking points as well. And thanks to our viewers as well, who are sending in some really lovely comments and observations. We already have a Bharat fan here in our chat as well. So let's take our conversation to the next level, right? Now, when you look at the discourse around how there were not a lot of people in the stadiums, especially in these non-India matches. So, stadiums being empty is not a great sign, right? This is a World Cup and BCCI is hosting it, the world's richest cricketing board. So, obviously, there were some expectations. So, what did you all make of the empty stadiums and all the criticism that was being leveled at the BCCI? I think we'll have all of you share your thoughts. So, let's start with Shop.
Yeah, so what I think is, like, before this live also began, we were having this discussion like why the stadiums are being empty. So I think there are a couple of factors which is like behind all of this thing. And firstly, like as I want to mention that cricket has been this kind of a sport in India currently, where it's being a 12-month affair or a whole year-round affair right now. All right. So, and the prices of the tickets, okay, it has, I mean, it is rising up to such a level where the fans also are thinking before, I mean, they twice or thrice before buying those tickets, like, how are they going to afford? So, the ticketing prices, I think it's a huge factor right now, which is playing, I mean, which is playing a definite, what should I say? I don't know what's the perfect term for it, but yeah, the economy given to, I mean, considering the fans over here in India, you're placing and you're just keeping the price near around 12,000, 10,000, 14,000. And I mean, how can, I mean, the people can afford those ticket prices at the very first place? There are people who can actually afford, but again, if you think from an audience perspective, So this is a lot what you have to pay for going to see the matches in the stadium. And again, I have several factors also. Like the opening ceremony was cancelled at the very first place. So yeah, that actually, I mean, it played a certain kind of role in the minds of the viewers, in the minds of the audience as well, that a billboard like World Cup, a flagship event in India. So where is that kind of a hype you're trying to build? So that's again another factor. And then the warm-up games, okay, the kind of they were just played behind closed doors. No one was allowed to go and view all those games. Also, the weather was a factor. Like the audience were also thinking whether or not they're going to watch the match, or will they be able to watch the match due to the forecast or the weather's like right now India is posing. And also there was this ticketing issues, like as Surya rightly mentioned, that of course I think he will be able to speak more on that part. And also another part is the visa delays for the participating team. That also anticipated a lot of I mean, curiosity within the minds of the audience as well. Like there was this delay in uh, providing Pakistan with their visa, right? So India Pakistan, it's such a banger of a game, and you are not still not you don't know what will be or what holds up for that game. So yeah, definitely these things played kind of a role in their mind. And I think there was a tweet, kind of a banter between uh, Jamie and Jemima Rodriguez over there in Twitter. Like she was asking, like, what's the matter? Why aren't there people in the stadium? And she mentioned that they all will be coming for the India Pakistan game. So yeah, and also the kind of administration the stadiums have shown over time. If you see in comparison to 2011, which was also being held in India itself, uh, it's a quite lot of difference. You can see the dissimilarities are huge in number. So yeah, I think the likes of IPL has also played a greater role over here. Like people are going and they're spending most of the pockets for IPL tickets, rather than they know that there will be a World Cup which is going to be played over here in India. So I think the attention span of the viewers and as well as the audience, that has also changed to some level. So these factors actually make up for the emptiness of the stadiums, in my opinion.
Yeah, so talking about it, I think transparency is one thing that's being missing between the administration and the public. You surely want things to be more transparent, because selling tickets in batches, if that's being announced prior to the selling and then these things happen, it's fine. But you suddenly get an announcement like another batch of tickets is being sold, and i don't I don't think this is going to do any good. And especially when we are in a time zone where we're talking whether ODI, is a format that is dying. You definitely want, you want to sell it to the people, and what better country than India to sell it? So, I mean, if the BCCI can, I really like the point, Sapto touched on. I really think the administration must go a level up and see to that, this format isn't dying. Subscriptions. Yeah, I think Chinmay is spot on. We were also discussing about it, if I'm not wrong. And if BCCI is making, the news of providing free water, in my opinion, is a basic commodity, and they're publicizing so much, I clearly don't know what to say. So, and more so, I'm a follower of Ashwin's YouTube channel. So he goes across, a lot of venues, and he says, how well the fans are being treated. I really wish that happens in our country. I really wish, a lot of what you say, the clubs or the memberships, that culture comes in, because that's when you're going to form a community of viewers, a loyal community of viewers. And eventually that's going to help in improving the game of the quality of the game as well. So I really wish that happens. I think Surya will have better points to discuss. So over to you.
To be very honest, I think Shopto and Bharat have made some outstanding points on what has gone wrong so far. Just adding on to that, there is one catch, which is, I think, the choice of venue for the first game. Ahmedabad, weekday, non India game, I don't think that's the wisest choice. Because, yes, England and New Zealand are two marquee teams, but you want the host nation to start the World Cup. Even if it was on the 5th of October, the fact that it was a Thursday, I'm pretty sure you would have seen a near sellout crowd at least in Ahmedabad if India was playing. Even if it was say India against, if it need not be Australia or New Zealand or England, it could be, with due respects, some of the lesser fancied sides like the Netherlands or Afghanistan, you would have seen a near sellout crowd. So I think eventually the number was 45,000. That's what I came across on Twitter. I cannot confirm the exact number, but that's a pretty good turnout for an England New Zealand game. But the fact that that's not even, I think that's just over one third the entire stadium capacity. It is going to look empty. So the choice of venue should have been better. Maybe you could have given it to or allotted that game to a ground where the capacity was a lot smaller. So you would have seen a near sellout crowd. You saw Kotla yesterday between South Africa and Sri Lanka. There was a massive crowd there. A weekend, once again, that plays a huge role. That is a factor. There is a huge cricket culture as well in Delhi, of course, which goes a long way in drawing fans over there. And I expect that, obviously, since India is playing today, you should expect a near sellout in Chennai. But at the same time, I think, on a weekday, it is hard to expect capacity crowds, at least for the first part of it. Maybe as the game goes along, in the second innings, I think in Ahmedabad as well, you saw crowds filling in, people coming into the stadium towards the second half of the day. So that might be a trend. And even in overseas venues, when you've seen World Cups in England or Australia or New Zealand, it's been the case. So neutral matches, unless it's India who are playing, it is hard to attract crowds. But at the same time, it doesn't take anything away from the fact that this whole thing could have been organized a lot better. Because if your schedule's coming out just 2 months after the World Cup and your ticket sales are starting after that, for the 2019 World Cup, ticket sales began a year in advance. The Barmy Army was missing in Ahmedabad. Have you seen an England match with the Barmy Army missing? Come on, that's not possible, especially for the World Cup. So, eventually the whole process, you have to book. There's accommodation, there's tickets, there's travel. There's a lot to plan, and you're traversing the entire length and breadth of the country. So, England's playing 2 matches in Ahmedabad and not consecutive matches. So they're playing all around the country. They go to Dharamshala, they go they're playing a game in Kolkata. They're obviously playing India and Lucknow. So it's a massive all India tour, pretty much, that they have to cover over here. And their fans are going to be following them as well. So if you do not give them the adequate amount of time or follow that process, or a smooth process, then you're only going to make their life difficult. And as was said by Bharat regarding the transparency and the fact that you're opening up new tickets now, then fans are only going to be left confused. Now, yesterday there's an intimation that 14,000 new tickets are going to be made available for the game in Ahmedabad between India and Pakistan. So, but then when you're actually trying to book your tickets, you see it's a sellout. So you're wondering, how is it not so? How is it sold out then and available now? It's only leading to confusion, and you're not painting yourself in any sort of glory, because this is the biggest cricket tournament. This is the biggest cricket tournament out there at the international level. In particular, you saw a smooth sales process during the IPL. That's what a lot of my friends also say, that we didn't experience this during the IPL. So this should have been administered and organized a lot better. And that's where it's just been a total case of chaos. And because of the fact that you're seeing, or rather fans experienced, a lot of disappointment while trying to book tickets, even for non-India matches. And then they see a lot of vacant seats. They're just wondering, where are all those tickets? I mean, where are all those, folks who bought those tickets? So they're only confused. And again, you'd hope that the India games at least come with a sellout. even on weekdays, I expect an India game to have that sellout. India playing Afghanistan in Delhi on Wednesday, so I will not be surprised if that. If we see a capacity crowd, we are going to see that. And on weekdays, again, it's hard to expect capacity crowds for non-India games. But yes, it doesn't take. Both of them are right in the sense that you can cut the fans a bit of slack. Fans have to be cut a lot of slack, in fact. And on weekdays they're hamstrung, but the whole process should have been a lot better because they could have planned it much better. And yes, exactly. Now, as Chinmay mentions, who knows? Maybe in Pune on the 30th of October. I'm not aware of what day it is, but if we see some empty stands, I'm sure Chinmay himself is going to wonder now. I saw it was sold out, but then there are some empty stands, so you're only going to be. It's a proper dilemma, and you're actually wondering what's going on. So it's disappointing, very disappointing, especially since it's a home World Cup. I mean.
You all bring in valid points, and now the BCCI had also given 50 crores to each of the venues hosting the World Cup to use those funds properly for infrastructure. Perhaps some of it could be redirected to even marketing these non-India matches, because at the end of the day they are World Cup matches that deserve attention. It's not always all about India. And even I think one of you brought the point of how many people are saying, is the ODI format dying? If it's not India playing, this literally no one watching, and there are periods of the game that get really boring. I mean, not these matches, but as we go ahead, it's a long World Cup, right? 45 matches that's there. So somewhere, do you feel that the ODI format is dying because of this concerning trend, or are we just jumping the gun too soon? Again, the question is open to all three of you. Let's start with Shopto.
Well, honestly, I feel like I mentioned the factor of like attention span of the viewers. All right. So, as Surya and Bharat, both of them rightly mentioned that they're just packed up all throughout the week, and also this tiring process of the ticketing. Whatever is there, like as Chinmay also mentioned, like you're providing the ticketing services through a platform like Book My Show, where half of the prices are going to be paid to the platform. And I mean, it's not half, I mean, it's more than that as well. For taxes and convenience fees, you just have to pay more and more. And that actually gets quite tiring and tiresome for people. Also, this generation, like we know the hype of ODI World Cup. I mean, I am assuming that we actually know, but a game is starting from let's say 1:30 p.m. or 2 p.m. and it's running till 9 p.m. or like till 10 p.m. It gets a lot of tires. It actually gets very tiring for the people to also stay there in the stadiums, which is also like poorly organized and maintained very badly. All right, and all they're providing is free mineral waters, and no proper services also are being done over there. And also, like Neha, I want to make a point that out of nowhere, I mean, might sound a bit harsh. Out of nowhere, you're making a stadium of which can accommodate 130K or 132K people, to be specific. And it's very obvious that a game where your country is not playing, people of India, I mean, they are not going to show up over there. It's quite evident. They have the fan bases. There are fans of England and India, New Zealand here in India, but it's very obvious that the turnout is not going to be much more than 30,000 or 40,000. So what happens is that your 80,000, like nearly 85,000 to 90,000 seats are going totally empty or vacant. All right. So that also shows a view that how we, I mean, how the population is recepting the fact of the ODI format. Now, what happens is we can't blame the ODI format totally over here, since this format of a game is yeah, as Surya has also mentioned, there were empty seats in the IPL as well. So I think there are the several factors like the ticketing prices and also the black markets have played a very bad role. Like, let's say someone is purchasing a ticket for 2,000 and they're selling it off in like 25 times more, like 50,000, 60,000. So definitely these are some of the issues what we have to look into. And I personally am a bit of a conventional old school viewer of this sport, and I still feel that the booking processes, if it's done through the stadium only, I mean by the stadium officials, it would be more convenient rather than just giving or giving someone a platform or an online platform which is going to charge you like thousand of bucks in order to purchase a ticket.
Yeah, Sapto was spot on. And to be honest, I grew up watching ODI cricket. It was my favorite format out of the three. But I think it is dying due to a lot of reasons. I think the viewership span, like Sapto has been reiterating about, I think that is very, very true, because yes, we have the convenience of watching it over mobile phone, but still, if you're finding it boring, it tells you a lot of stories. But I think ICC, BCCI, whoever is responsible, they had to place the product of ICC World Cup in a better way. You had to place it in at a good position and then promote it. That wasn't done, obviously. I saw a lot of memes rolling out about the official anthem of 2011 World Cup, De Kumake song. How good it was, how nostalgic it was, and all of that. So a lot of things were missing. Obviously, a lot of flaws in the planning has resulted in this, and I really, really wish there will be a lot of great games panning out as we progress through the tournament, because only that can revive the format. And obviously India winning the tournament will be a huge, huge booster. uh, but let's see, it's quite disheartening, to be honest. I really wish the viewership goes high.
Yeah, I have a slightly different take to what Shopto said regarding the ticket sales at the stadium. Because what we saw during the last week of the IPL, when the playoffs were in Ahmedabad, and you knew that the home team is going to be playing, and you also knew that the team featuring MS Dhoni was going to be playing. So automatically there were going to be packed houses, and there were complaints of a huge stampede when they were standing there to collect their tickets. So I think when the organization is a little when it's been a little chaotic, I think selling it online, or rather using that platform, was the right move. But perhaps it's just that they've rushed into it, and the whole process there in terms of doing it phase wise. But then, as Bharat mentioned, without even announcing that there's going to be a second phase or a third phase of ticket sales, and you think that this is your one and only shot that you have at getting your ticket. So obviously there's going to be a lot of online traffic as well. So the whole process could have been followed a lot better. I think somebody brought out the fact about the FIFA World Cup last year, where you just had to scan your code and get in, and that's a massive event. Of course, you had fans coming in from around the world. Even that World Cup was one where it was probably pushed back because of COVID. I'm not entirely sure about that, to be honest, but obviously we know that the Cricket World Cup in India would not take place in October, November, if not for the cascading effect of COVID pushing every other major tournament back. From the T20 World Cup, the two T20 World Cups, and then now this one too. So, I think it's all about how it was rushed into it. When you knew that October, November was your window for the World Cup, the schedule should have come out months ahead, at least by January this year. At least by January, send it out. And, if you know that, there are certain issues with regards to, the amount of security you can provide. Like, I think there was an issue raised by the Hyderabad Cricket Association for hosting games on back-to-back days, but there was nothing much that could have been done about it. There were changes in the schedule, even though it came out 100 days in advance. There were changes that were made again. So all these things are, all these are factors that you need to look into well in advance, because you're also catering to fans who are going to be traveling from around the world. And and fans in the country as well are not having it easy, because the kind of demand there is, the demand for a World Cup and a demand for a bilateral game, they're totally different. So for a bilateral game, you can start your sales 10 days in advance. If you're fortunate, you might get a ticket on the day of the match and you can go ahead and watch. The IPL as well, you more or less know your schedule. Every year, March, April, May is your window. The IPL will take place in April, May. So you can make your plans, and obviously, with no schools as well, families can bring their kids to the venue. So it's much easier then, because you have that fixed window. In this case, because it's taking place at a time when it normally wouldn't have happened in a normal world, so to say, I think the planning should have been even more meticulous, and that is what has been missing. So if you had given yourself enough time, and then even if there were issues that had come up, you would have still had more time to cater to it. This was just rushed into it completely, and rushed completely, and I guess it got to a point where fans have probably started becoming frustrated. Even at the home World Cup, they're not even trying. Even if there's another sale, yeah, ab jaane do yaar, अब तो mood ही चला गया है. You don't want to see that. It's sad, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, it's come down to that.
And I think that's where, the BCCI, considering they are the richest cricketing board, can actually come up with their own centralized ticketing system. You can have some parts of it online, like through their website, and some of it can be, as Shopta said, through the stadium as well. This is to make it more accessible for fans who are not adept with technology as well. So that is something that can be definitely ideated for, considering we have a lot more World Cups that's going to probably happen in India. Hopefully, this is not a deterrent. And I think even in our chat, Chinmay brought a really good point. Like during the pandemic, right, we saw the emergence of like your T10 leagues, or those T10 leagues getting the prominence, and even T20 cricket, we saw almost like two editions, right, in like back-to-back things. So for a fan like him, and I think for most of us, this format will certainly not die, and I hope it stays. The ICC doesn't go to experiment a lot with these 40 overs things, or like the 100 type of format. So let's hope that does not happen in the near future. And now, we have such an exciting game on cards today. We have India taking on Australia, a match that we have all been waiting for ever since that ODI, ever since, the ODI series that just preceded this World Cup. I mean, although India won the series, it was still, a match versus Australia in the World Cup is definitely something you take seriously. So, Bharat, are you excited for this game? It's happening in Chennai. So, what's your perspective?
I'm definitely excited. I think that shouldn't be a question in the first place. But yeah, I think this is slightly more than the India Pakistan game, in my opinion, because the Aussies are in red hot form. Uh, they may look a bit tamed prior to the World Cup, but when it's World Cup time, they know it's time to race. So they have a great squad. Obviously, one of the favorites to win the tournament, just like England and India are. I personally expect a great match today, considering they have a great squad to play here at Chepauk, and obviously India having concerns about Shubman Gill. I don't think how things are going to pan out, but definitely excited.
Right, and now this obviously an India-Australia match brings up a lot of key matchups and getting the team composition right as well. So, Shopta, what are some of the matchups that you are definitely looking forward to, and any team compositions in mind for India and Australia?
Firstly, I think that Australia has two sides. All right, that's a pre-ICC event, and like while they're playing, they enter into I mean, different mode all in all. So the matchup was, which I am currently looking forward is to like I'm very disheartened by seeing the exclusion of Shubman Gill. Okay, so he is that kind of a player, or he has been this kind of a player in ODI format, not only in ODI but in across all three formats, where he provides the stability in the opening with Rohit Sharma, opening position with Rohit Sharma. So, in my opinion, like Rohit Sharma hasn't been in that kind of a form since. I mean, last few games, but yeah, he has shown his intent in the last ODI match, which was being played. He scored in a quite in a strike rate of I think 120 plus or 130 plus in the third game ODI game versus Australia, and also scored a half century. And I think over there in the batting matchup, I uh, would like to see Rohit Sharma performing. Like, of course, he's a player of ICC events. Like, also in 2019, we saw how consecutively he had hit like 5 centuries. So that's, I mean, that will be a key takeaway. And Of course, I want to look Virat Kohli, like the vintage Kohli this time, because ever since World Cup, I mean, he is performing, but whenever it's the World Cup time, I think like some of the other things go off, or yeah. And we also saw how the tables had turned for him in the last ICC event, I guess, versus Afghanistan. So in the T20 World Cup, I guess, right? So when he came back and scored his 71st century against Afghanistan, yeah, so I think that ever since that, Virat Kohli has entered into a whole different mode, and what we are seeing, his version is of Virat 2.0, definitely. And in between, I think from the pandemic, the players also couldn't get much of it, since they were also in a space where in the bio bubble and all those things, like it had already taken up a toll mentally as well as physically, and they weren't quite able to analyze their game pattern. So I'm quite looking forward in the opening slot along with Rohit Sharma, Ishan Kishan definitely, and then I'll have in number three, I'll like to see definitely Virat Kohli. Who else other than him? And in number four, I still am in dilemma whether Shreya Iyer or KL Rahul, because if it's KL Rahul, I think the again the performance he has shown in the last games. Also, yeah, Shreya Iyer also scored a century in the second ODI along with Shubman Gill. So we can be a bit. We have that bit of an assurance. But again, the Chennai pitch. It'll be much of a help to Shreya Iyer, who is a good hitter of the ball against the spinners. So I think it'll be a bit, I mean, helpful for him. And also Hardik Pandya, then after that, Ravindra Jadeja for sure, and I'll have in place of Shardul Thakur, I would like to see Siraj coming in, then Mohammad Shami, and with the likes of Kuldeep and Siraj in the team. So I personally am vouching for Mohammad Siraj to perform like to get to be the highest wicket taker this time. So yeah, fingers crossed. May he, I mean, I'm just looking forward for his performance. And yeah, that's it. That's from my end. I would also want to see what my other co-panelists are trying to make out of it.
That's actually great analysis for India. And Surya, what's your likely combination that Australia would want to opt for, considering Shopta has already placed such a strong playing 11 for India? What would your Aussie 11 look like?
So I think Australia are also limited in terms of their options because Travis Head is not available for the first couple of games at least. I think the first 3 or 4 games, in fact. And there is an injury cloud over Marcus Stoinis. So if anything, it probably makes it easy for them to make one or two selections. But I see a pretty straightforward playing 11 with Australia. David Warner and Mitchell Marsh will open the innings, and I'm going to be very wary of Mitchell Marsh because I think he has been in lethal form for a good while now. Steve Smith will bat three. Manas Labuschagne, since coming on as that concussion substitute specialist almost, and showing just what he brings to this team. Massive there at number 4. And I think an understated player at 5 would be Alex Carey. I think he's cut out to play this format. He plays spin really well. Yes, he's blown a little hot and cold recently, but I think he's one player who should not be written off. Cameron Green and Glenn Maxwell are their power hitting engine room. They constitute that power hitting engine room at 6 and 7. And again, with Maxwell, what Australia have done well is follow that entry point approach. So I think after the 30th or the 35th over of the foundation set, you will see Maxwell come in irrespective of how many wickets Australia have lost. And it's the ideal launchpad for him to take Australia to a score and just potentially bat India out of the game. And the bowling combination straightforward: Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, and Zampa. No arguments there at all. Yes, if Ashton Agar was available, I think that's something Australia might have pondered, because the last time they played India in Chennai, it was Agar and Zampa who spun a web around India. But again, the way Glenn Maxwell bowled against India and Rajkot would give them a lot of confidence. So with regards to, is there room for Stoinis to play today? I think there's an injury cloud over Stoinis too. So in any case, I don't know if he's going to be able to start. if he's fit, the choice will be between Stoinis and Cameron Green. Stoinis clearly has more experience, but I think he has been struggling with the bat for a while now in ODIs. He's been scoring really well in T20s, but I don't know how his average at the start of the India Australia series, his batting average in ODI since 2020 was under 17 with the highest score of 49. So that's very worrying, even though he's taken giant strides with his bowling. Cameron Green definitely doesn't have the kind of experience Stoinis has, but he's an ever improving cricketer and he brings a very enterprising package with bat and ball. So I expect Green will start, going by the warm ups as well. And in any case, as I said, if Stoinis is not fit, it just makes it a very straightforward decision for Australia. So it seems like a pretty straightforward playing 11. If they play anything outside of this, I'll be a little surprised. But yeah, that's what I think Australia will go with.
And another major talking point has been, if Ravi Ashwin will be playing this game, and we have Shabrish also sharing the same in the live chat that, Ash will play today's game. So, Bharat, what do you think? Could we or should we play three spinners today and, mix it up a little bit? Maybe Shardul doesn't make the cut today. How does that look for you?
Well, generally, we all know how Chepak is like. It is obviously going to assist more spin. And obviously, Ashna, as the internet community calls him, Ashna is. It's Chepak. You should play him. I think the sole reason why he's come into the squad is to play at Chepak. So, and I mean, from cricketing point of view, you have Warner and Steven Smith, who I don't know who their bunnies to. Maybe obviously I forgot about Stuart Broad, but yeah, I think Ash should play today. As he provides, a number 8 spot, which we've been talking for a long time now, bit unnecessary, but still, yes, I think as a bowler, you definitely want Ashwin to play because I think even on flat pitches, he's better suited, in my opinion, because obviously, he knows in and out. Who better than Ravi Ashwin? So I think he must play. And I think Shardul is going to miss out today, unfortunately. So that's how my team. I think it's pretty similar to what Sapto said. Uh, my five frontline bowlers would be Ashwin, Jadeja, Kuldeep, Siraj, and Bumrah. And also you have Hardik Pandya, who I think is good enough to be your third or fourth bowler. So I think India are going with a lethal bowling attack. Um, yeah, I think Sapto's India 11. Yeah, just one change, I guess. I think we have come with the same 11. I think Ashwin is an integral part today. He definitely will go well against even Labuschagne I missed. But I'll be very excited to see how Maxwell versus Ashwin competition goes because we've been it's a big timeline, right? One time Maxwell raises up and the other time it's Ashwin who gets the last win. So I'll be excited to see that too. But advantage India is what I feel.
Right. And as we, reach the end of our discussion as well, let's take quick predictions from all our panelists on who is going to win today's game. I know we're all itching to say India, but let's put on our objective hats and have a go at this. So we'll have Shopto, Bharat, and Surya have a go.
Yeah, I think that of course India is going to win today, but it won't be an easy win in my opinion because uh, uh, mm, Australia, as I already told you, they are made for ICC events and they are going to give their 100%. And definitely, I am a bit, I am a bit afraid and scared of Stark and how he's going to bowl out there during the power play overs as well. And he's very lethal with his like with the new ball. And of course, again, Hazelwood. He also makes a great impact and provides a great support to the team. And on the other hand, I have high hopes, of course, from Virat Kohli. And again, as I mentioned, Mohammad Siraj. And I think that yeah, I forgot to mention about Ashwin in the when I was speaking about the matchups. So of course, yeah, he is an integral part whenever a team is playing in Chennai we have already seen previously how he can bat well in the talks of the Chennai pitch, and he also had a century against England while they came for the India tour in 2021. I think it was a test match, and the kind of intent he had shown in that pitch is really to look out for. So I think the three key players from my end for India will be Virat Kohli, Siraj, and Ashwin. And from Australia will be in batting. I have high hopes from Labuschagne. He's going to do well. I think Smith versus Siraj will be a matchup. We should also Smith versus Ashwin will be a matchup. These are the two matchups what I am looking out for. And yeah, that's it.
Go on,
So
Bharat.
yeah, as I already said, advantage India. I have a couple of reasons why I said that. Firstly, I think the India have a spin edge over Australia because I think Zampa is the only spinner you have. Yes, Maxwell, is a good enough bowler to get you 3 or 4 wickets. We saw that in the third game of the bilateral series, which just got over. But I think Kuldeep, Jadeja, and Ashwin, I think they're a clear edge over Australia. So, and the second reason is I think I somehow get a feeling like India have a more settled batting order as compared to Australia, because I don't know, Australia are have been using Carey at 7, which I think is too low for him, because as Sapto said, he's a very good batter at 5 because he has those two gears which is quintessential in this format. So I don't know how their batting order will look like. Yes, Zampa versus Kohli is definitely going to be something which I'll look forward to, and also Shreyas versus Zampa, because Shreyas, is a very good spin hitter. And yeah, I was talking about the batting order of Australia, right? I would go with the same 11 what Surya has gone with, because, as he said, it's straightforward. Their 5, 6, 7, I think that doesn't look as settled as what you see in India. Although our batting depth isn't that good as compared to what you see from Australia. So these are the two reasons which makes me vouch or root for India today.
And Surya, what about you? Predictions for today?
Advantage India definitely, but as Shapto said, only just because you're not going to have it easy against Australia in a World Cup in particular. That's one thing. When they lost 5 games on the spin heading into that last game in Rajkot. But I remember after the first game, I think it was in Mohali, Pat Cummins looked pretty confident even when he was walking out to the presentation. And you just felt Australia weren't phased by it. They were on an experimentation spree, but you just knew that when it comes to the first game of the World Cup, they'll know what their starting 11 is like. And they definitely look a lot more solid now with Maxwell and Mitchell Stark returning from injury. So it's not going to be easy for India. But I still feel that a couple of point of impact players like Kuldeep Yadav in particular through those middle overs, I think will be massive to India's cause. And likewise, if there's someone India will probably want to stop from running away with the game early on, I'm going to say it's Mitchell Marsh again, because he's had this habit of I think he's very clear in his head, he's just going to go out there and attack the new ball bowlers. It doesn't matter if it's Jasprit Bumrah or Mohammad Siraj who's bowling, he's going to look to attack. So India will have to stop Marsh early on, lest you get into a situation like what happened at Rajkot. And if you're chasing 350, that's going to be a challenge once again, especially if the pitch does offer something for spin in Chennai. Which I won't be surprised if we get a decent batting wicket again because it's the first game of the tournament in Chennai. But I think stopping Mitchell Marsh would be the key. India definitely have the edge, especially because Australia don't have Ashton Agar as well. With that full array of right-handers, you would have thought this was the game Australia would play Agar, but he's not here. So yes, there's no Shubman Gill either, but I think in the batting department, it's going to be the case throughout this World Cup. Two players who have to click well and consistently for India will be Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul, because that middle order is going to be the key. Virat Kohli will score. Shubman Gill will score once he's back. Hopefully, he should be back soon. And Rohit Sharma will get you off the starts. But again, the difference between winning the World Cup and or just ending as let's say the perennial bridesmaids, which unfortunately India have been in recent ICC events. You need a bit of luck too, but I think Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul will be, and even Hardik and Jadeja, yes, but Shreyas and KL Rahul are going to be the key players for me.
Right, with all our panelists, suggesting advantage India, here's hoping we really win the match because it'll be a great start to this home World Cup. And we also would love to see a lot of crowd in the stadium because, having empty stadiums is such a downer. So, fingers crossed to see a lot of fans in the stadium as well. And yeah, that pretty much does conclude our discussion. I'd first like to take this opportunity to thank all our panelists for, amazing us with their remarkable and astute insights. I think you really added a lot of value and nuance to our conversation. So thank you so much for that. Next, I'd like to thank all our viewers who watched us through our marathon 1 hour, 44 minutes session and, shared their questions, insights, and analysis. It really helped us a lot as well, and hoping you had something to take away. Your support will be remembered, and we hope to see you through all of our live sessions as well. And we will be doing a live show every Sunday at 11 a.m. with cricket fans just like this. So please make sure to follow Never on the Backfoot on Instagram, on Twitter, now called X, and on YouTube as well. We also have an audio podcast on Spotify where our guests have also had a chance to come and have a chat. So please check out those episodes as well. And now, before my mom sends me a live chat message asking me to come down for lunch, I think we'll all take a move. So bye and thank you to everyone. Cheers.